Hey guys, welcome back to another video, and today I wanted to talk a little bit about endgame. Recently there's been a lot of posts on Reddit, and even YouTube videos have been made about the wipes that are coming with 3.18.1 and 3.18.2. Now, believe it or not, a lot of people have been playing on the live servers, and they've already grinded or started to grind credits to be able to get back the ships that they lost with the wipe of 3.18.0. Now, I just have I'm trying out something new with this video, so I just have kind of a slideshow in the background of my hammerhead. It's kind of an illustration of what I want to talk about today. Now, there's a lot of people who have kind of opened up that discussion because there are a lot of players who own these ships with real money and they won't lose them with the wipe. And that is a specific play style. I mean, I'm not going to say anything against it because, you know, the hammerhead in the background of this video is mine. So I'm a bit biased when it comes to that. But I have always held the position that you do not need to buy anything other than the basic game package to enjoy this game. Now, that does come to a pain point at times like this because the game is not very playable, and there are wipes that happen, so you lose your progression. So is it a good idea to just buy some of the ships you want or upgrade to some of the ships you want? And that's not something that I'm going to suggest here, but it puts into question kind of what is endgame in Star Citizen. In my opinion, I've seen a lot of people talk about this. I recently saw, a video by Noobify kind of posing the question, what is the minimum viable product of Star Citizen? And to me, that really comes down to what is the end game in Star Citizen. What are we going to be doing in this game when all is said and done? We know, yes, there are different careers that you can do to make money, but what is that building towards? And to kind of understand this a little bit better, we need to talk about what end game is in a traditional MMO. So let's kind of go back a little bit and talk about that. So the way that a traditional MMO is structured is that you have you begin with basically nothing, and then you have especially in some single player games, often you will have a storyline that you have to follow and progress through to beat the game. Now, in kind of a less theme park MMO style, kind of like an open world theme park style MMO, you have to progress through levels and skill trees, and essentially the game is segmented into three parts: your character leveling, your gear leveling, and then end game. Okay, and the content in the game is going to be gated by these levels. So the more you level up, the more content you can experience, and to experience more content you have to grind to level up. And so what a lot of people do is they get into a game and they immediately start grinding to level up their character so they can experience all the content. Now, when you get to end game, your character is at a level that is now a lot more competitive. So a big feature of end game is PvP. There's also, more gated content that you can experience in end game, which is like certain types of crafting, certain rare drops and stuff like that the developer essentially just concocts to be able to attract players or to keep players coming back. You also might have daily activities, things that you have to do, and you also have horizontal progression. And so what is horizontal progression now? Well, horizontal progression is things like fishing, things like social events, Games like Final Fantasy have a lot of things like that. Player housing. This is things that would draw a player in to open up the game and play, that really don't advance towards their linear progression scale. Now in Star Citizen, it's completely different because it doesn't have a traditional leveling system. In Star Citizen, you jump in the game and you can essentially do whatever you want. It all comes down to how much money you can make and what you can buy, kind of more akin to the real world. Now, your starting, your basis for when you're starting off in the game comes down to what ships you have. So if you have bought a ship like the Vulture, for instance, you can start salvaging right away and making more money than someone who bought like an entry level ship. For instance, if you bought a starter ship, you would have to do box missions or easy combat missions, or perhaps even racing, and you would have to make a little bit of money however you can. Now, there are a lot of ways to make money in Star Citizen. I mean, you can get creative. You can go to different outposts and loot items. You can in 319, for instance, you will be able to find ships and salvage their components and sell those to make money. So the way CIG is designing this game is that there are a lot of opportunities to make money to be able to get to the ships that you want. Now the question is, once you get those ships and you are making that money, what is there to do? Now there's a lot of things to do to make money, but once you have that money, what do you spend it on? Yes, you can spend it on ships, and a lot of people enjoy doing that. But once you have those ships and you have that money, what do you do? What is the progression? Now, CIG is also introducing a horizontal progression in Star Citizen, even though it has a open progression system. They are adding little things on the side that you can engage with, like the racetrack at Orson, the little golf cart racetrack. There is no benefit to really doing that. You don't get any money from doing that. It is basically just a way for you to race around with your friends and enjoy the game. At some point, CIG has also said that they plan on integrating Arena Commander. Now, Arena Commander, it basically has a lot of the similar gameplay that the Persistent Universe has, but none of the actions that happen in Arena Commander make you money in the Persistent Universe. But none of the consequences of the Persistent Universe carries over to Arena Commander. So you don't have to worry about losing your rear gear if you die. And you don't have to worry about long insurance claim timers. You don't have to worry about regeneration. You don't have to worry about making or losing money. You can just play various aspects of the game. And so kind of the way that CIG has said that they're going to do this is that they're going to have simulation pods in the game that your player character can hop into, and they can experience these modules. So you can fly around and race without having to worry about blowing up your ship and then regenerating and running back to the track. No, you just immediately respawn and you're racing again. There is Star Marine, which is, again, you don't have to worry about regenerating at the hospital, losing your gear, getting your gear back, buying new gear, grabbing a new mission and doing combat. No, you just pick a match, you spawn in and you shoot, and that's it. You get points and you go. This is also a great way to practice and train at getting better in the Persistent Universe. I think Arena Commander separately is very fun, or can be very fun. I know a lot of people who are just like die-hard Arena Commander fans, but I feel like once it's fully integrated in the game with these sim pods, a lot more people are going to use it. The next thing is kind of like side attractions, things that aren't really tied to missions that you can do. I know a lot of the developers have even talked about camping. I know they're working on more usables, so they can you can deploy posters, you can deploy little camping beds, camping chairs, maybe go on a picnic. These usables will give players an opportunity to kind of take more things with them that they can actually deploy. Again, because the game has PES now, whenever you put something somewhere, it's just basically going to stay there. That kind of gives you an opportunity as well to hide treasures, have scavenger hunts with your org. A good example of this is, let's say you could put like a railgun or something and hide it somewhere, leave clues, tell the people in your org, hey, there's a railgun somewhere, first person who can find it gets it. That kind of community event style gameplay is possible with technology like PES. Okay, and I feel like this level of horizontal progression is kind of good for endgame, but not everybody's going to be interested in that. So let's talk about the more direct progression systems in Star Citizen. Now, something that CIG has talked about that is kind of like lukewarm with the community right now is skills. This is not per se directly skilled trees, but it is a way for you to enhance your player character's abilities, to kind of give more value to the actual character that you're playing as, and kind of enhance your connection with that specific player character. That way, that when Death of a Spaceman gets fully implemented, losing that player character will have more value. So what's Death of a Spaceman? Well, Death of a Spaceman is a system where you essentially have limited lives. Right now in the game, we have a pretty robust death mechanic in medical gameplay, but you have an infinite respawn. So once your character dies, it could die as many times as possible. When the game is fully released, CIG wants to implement a limited lifespan. I think in the past they've said somewhere around 5 lives. Now, this will give your player character the ability to kind of develop their own skills, and the skills that CIG has talked about is, things like strength, agility, and you train these things by doing different tasks in the game. Again, I feel like that's probably pretty far away, so I wouldn't bet on that for end game gameplay. But something that's a little bit closer, something that's kind of in game right now, is your reputation. Now, initially, reputation is only tied to missions. So if your gameplay really doesn't have any missions, you really can't build any reputation with that gameplay. What does that mean? Well, that means that if you're doing salvage, you can't gain any reputation by salvaging. But what CIG wants to do is create missions for all of these different careers, so you can build reputation doing these different things. So in 319, what we're going to get is salvage missions, so you can build your reputation doing salvage. And the same thing with mining. There's probably going to be the same thing with trading. In the past, CIG has shown kind of an infographic of missions that are tied to every kind of gameplay. So there'll essentially be a mission type for all these types of gameplay, so you can have that progression with each chosen career. So let's say you're an engineer or something, you might be able to take an engineering mission contract and gain reputation. Now, I have no idea how it's going to look like. But for right now, the main career path that we have is racing. And in my opinion, racing's in a pretty good spot right now. It's definitely in a place where CIG can improve it. But I think for like a tier 0 implementation, it's pretty good. You can take these missions. They progress in a linear manner, which means that there's an easy track that you start with, and the last track is kind of the most difficult, and you get paid more depending on where you place in the race, if you get platinum, gold, silver, bronze. And I think that is a pretty good basic system, and you can take these missions, pay a small fee, and then as you win, you make a little bit more money. Right now, I feel like this is not lucrative enough. Really, a lot of people are just doing it because they have fun racing, but I feel like they need I think it's good. I think it's challenging enough. I think the times that they've set are fine. I just feel like it needs to pay more. I know they kind of feel like maybe people will do it a bunch and make too much money, but I feel like for winning a race, for getting platinum or whatever, you should be making like 50K. Why not? It's all funny money right now. And in my opinion, that will drive a lot more people to do racing, and then CIG will have a lot more data to balance it in the future. Again, this is kind of my position with almost every profession. I feel like CIG should just crank up the payouts of just about everything to encourage people to do those things. Then they'll get data to go back and balance it. I think the biggest problem right now that CIG is running into is that people aren't doing most activities. Most people are just kind of just doing bounty missions, bunkers, and they're not getting data with these other professions. They're not getting enough good data with these other professions. I think they should just crank up the value on all these other things, and people will go out and do that stuff, and they can get more better data. But getting back on topic here, the next thing that currently exists with missions is, again, you have mercenary, you have delivery, you have bounty hunter, and you have beacons that you can take. Now, reputation is not really tied to beacons, but I would love to see a system where they tie reputation to beacons, so you can like get a 5-star rating for responding to a beacon correctly. I think that's going to be huge with who you can trust in this game. Again, I'm not a developer. I don't know how hard that would be to implement, but I think that would be huge. If I could post a beacon and see somebody has like a 2-star, and be like, no, don't rescue me. I know, you're probably not going to be able to save me if you have a 2-star. And in my opinion, that will encourage players to do a better job, and that will encourage players to kind of work towards something, and that's what you want to do with Endgame. You want to create systems that kind of incentivize players to play. Now, one of the big things that people have been talking about because of the wipe was the idea of rewarding players for playing and testing. Now, I don't think CIG should necessarily do that or not do that. I don't think it's a bad idea. I think it's something that they have the technology to do, because they have all this data and all the statistics from what players have been doing. They could, in theory, say, okay, you've played 20 hours, 100 hours, or be like, every hour you get 5,000 UEC. So after a wipe, if you play 20 hours, you get this much amount of money. And I feel like that a reward system like that would kind of help players want to jump in. The problem with that potentially is that is a lot for them to do on the back end, because they have to create an automated system essentially where they record that and distribute the money evenly. They recently had like a lot of issues with money after, I think it was 317. They said that they would give a bunch of people money, and they accidentally gave people too much money. I think they gave them like 1 million UEC. So I don't know how easy that system is to implement, so I wouldn't kind of bet on it. But at the end of the day, if they build in systems in the game to encourage gameplay naturally, I feel like they wouldn't have to do that. Right now, what people are doing is the grinding for the ships that they want, and when a wipe happens and they lose it, there's nothing that they could do about it. So it's frustrating. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. What do you think Endgame in Star Citizen is going to look like? Do you think that progressing to missions is the way that the game should be played? How do you play the game? Do you like to go freestyle, or do you like to take missions when you hop in? I'd love to hear what you guys do. But yeah, thanks for watching this video. If you liked it, hit the like button. If you want to see more videos like it, hit subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one. Salut.